If I had to sum up today's entire video in a single word, it would be stubborn. The subject of today's video needs to quit while he's behind. I'm referring to Mark Robinson, the lieutenant governor who just got outed for his extensive history of extremely disturbing comments, but he's claiming that these are all AI generated. And somehow, in an election cycle that has been full of just the most unhinged news, this man manages to tower above the rest in a way I have never seen. But first, welcome, my name is D'Angelo, and I am your professor of barometric time signatures, which is a very real degree that I definitely do have. Or maybe this is just me broadcasting myself talking in my room like YouTube used to be. And today's lecture almost manages to be funny. Like, if you take out the fact that this man does actually have political power, and there's a possibility that he will gain even more of it, and he is completely insane, other than that, it's actually pretty funny. Mostly just because his stubborn refusal to see reality the way everyone else sees it is just sad to behold. So this is Mark. He was the first black lieutenant governor of North Carolina, but also he's besties with Donald Trump. Like, jokes aside, it's actually terrible. This man is an extreme conservative. Marky Mark is currently running for governor. Lieutenant governor is just kind of like governor light, like a second in command type situation. And so with Mark Robinson being so extreme and so conservative, there's a vested interest from the Republican Party to get him in office in that capacity. Long story short, it's what Trump wants, and therefore it's probably the last thing that should be happening. But yeah, that's Mark Robinson. So he's been out there, right? He's been campaigning. He's really trying to get the job. And then CNN shows up and is like, pause, because we're about to ruin this man's entire career. When I tell you that this is simultaneously one of the most brilliant and horrifying headlines I have ever beheld with my own two eyes, you're just not ready. You're not ready. I am a black Nazi. North Carolina Republican nominee for governor made dozens of disturbing comments on adult forum. Thanks, CNN. What am I supposed to do with this info? And also, do you want to back that up? Source, please? This is a crazy claim. But no, throughout the course of this article, they very, very clearly make a compelling case for why they believe this user they found that was active on all these adult sites is Mark Robinson, and that calling himself a black Nazi was just one of his many completely outrageous statements, many of which were extremely anti-black, which Mark, who's gonna tell him? So because Mark was making all of these statements on a forum for adult content, we get this awful double whammy of understanding his political views and his inclinations at the same time. Many of Robinson's comments were gratuitously lewd in nature, and they were made under the name Mini Soldier. Does Mark strike us as more of like a soldering guy or like a soldiering guy? I'm just gonna stick with Minnesota. So this next little factoid is how I realized that Mark Robinson is not very smart. Robinson listed his full name on his profile for the adult site, as well as an email address he used on numerous websites across the internet for decades. I'm sorry, but who signs up for these sites using their actual first and last name? What normal person would do that? Let alone somebody who is going to run for public office? And then CNN whips out the receipts. A Facebook post shows that he used the Minnesota handle on Twitter, Pinterest, YouTube. Wait, no, hold on a second. Well, why is Mark Robinson a Pinterest girly? Mark, what were you pinning? What were your boards? This is my Pinterest. It's just cool outfits, whatever this is. That's sponsored for Amazon. Why would I want to buy this? But no, anyways, Mark was Minnesota literally everywhere. Pinterest, YouTube, Facebook, etc. So the article goes on to highlight how recently, at one of his rallies, Robinson said, if you're a man on a Friday night and all of a sudden Saturday you feel like a woman and you want to go in the women's bathroom in the mall, you will be arrested or whatever we gotta do to you. Ooh, I love that thinly veiled threat. I mean, what veil? Actually, that's just a threat. We're going to protect our women, he says. But then it says, as Minnesota on this website, Robinson graphically described his own arousal as an adult from the memory of secretly peeping on women in public gym showers as a 14-year-old. Okay, hold on. I went peeping again the next morning. Ah, memories. The fact that CNN is literally cleaning this up, actually. CNN is not publishing the graphic details, and yet he's still coming across across as the freak of the week. Anyway, in another post, he describes why he's into transgender adult content. It takes the man out while leaving the man in. To be honest, what does that? No, I don't want to know. I genuinely should count myself lucky that I can't comprehend whatever the heck he's referring to here. Anyway, he also had beef with Martin Luther King Jr. for some reason. Of all people, for a black person in America to dislike, it's gonna be MLK, my guy. Yet you definitely would not be lieutenant governor, but okay. Let's just do this. He apparently attacked Martin Luther King Jr. in such intense terms that a user accused him of being a white supremacist. I'm not in the KKK. They don't let blacks. Oh, blacks. Why did this actually hurt more than a slur? They don't let blacks join. If I was in the KKK, I would have called him Martin Lucifer. Okay. This is actually like shockingly racist. Usually, I do not like the term shockingly racist. I think people use it to describe perfectly unshocking racism that is very common and needs to stop being put on some pedestal as if it's not happening all the time. But this is shocking to me. Martin Lucifer, bro. I think what really does my head in, I understand this from a grift perspective. When you are performing for President Trump because you want him to be your bestie because you're damaged, I get being racist towards your own race, even though that is insane. But why are you doing this as Minnesota on an adult forum for nobody? How is this your actual opinion? I think the thing I usually tell myself when it comes to people like this is, well, at the very least, even though I know they're spreading all this absolute nonsense, there has to be a possibility that they don't believe it, right? Right? But you are really out here doing this in private, slandering Martin Luther King Jr. because reasons. Now, this does raise the question of how do we know somebody didn't just, I don't know, use his username or change the name after the fact to match up once he got popular in politics, etc. Well, besides the fact that the full name was Mark Robinson on the profile and that the email address used for the profile was the same one he was using elsewhere, Minnesota mentioned in 2008 being married for 18 years, which corresponds with Robinson's marriage to Yolanda Hill in 1990. This matched up later when he said 21 years in 2011. He wrote that he lived in Greensboro, North Carolina, which is where Robinson lived and currently lives. And with these posts being written in 2008 and 2011, how could anyone argue that this was a plant or a fake? You know what I mean? He wasn't lieutenant governor. Nobody's thinking that far ahead. And the craziest thing is, I feel like articles usually do not have screenshots or like this many screenshots to back up their sources. They're usually just like, yeah, we're CNN, trust us. But nah, they genuinely caught this man in 4K. Everything they're saying, I can just see. In a post in 2012, Minnesota said he served in the army in the 80s during the same time. Oh, so it is Soldier. Both Minnesota and Robinson often posted about the same topics, including reviews for remote-controlled helicopters, their attraction to specific celebrities, and their favorite Twilight Zone episode. Oh man, bro, that is you. That is you, my God. Who's gonna know your favorite Twilight Zone episode? Robinson's unique choice of language further links him to the Minnesota alias. Uncommon phrases such as gag a maggot were used both by Minnesota and by Robinson on his personal Facebook page. And again, you've just got the photo evidence of all of this. The gag a maggot is actually from his post about Martin Luther King. Gag a maggot, get that commie off the national... This guy is wild, dude. In the adult forums, Robinson revealed his unvarnished thoughts on issues such as race, gender, and abortion. Writing in the forum discussing Black Republicans in 2010, Robinson stated, unprovoked, I'm a Black Nazi. That same month, he wrote in another post he supported the return of slavery. Slavery is not bad. I can stop you right. Let's just stop you right there. Really just imagine typing that. Those 4 words with your full chest when your real name, your first and last name are on your profile. Oh, and also I can't stress this enough. You are Black. Slavery is not bad. Some people need to be slaves. I wish they would bring it back. I would certainly buy a few, he wrote. No, but you see, this is actually kind of insightful. Even though this is a moronic statement. In such a few short words, it's very clear the attitude that drives this. He posits the idea that slavery, let's just reinstitute that, but he seems to immediately not even consider the notion that he would be a slave. He just immediately jumps to thinking he would somehow be part of the oppressing class. My brother in Christ, you would be out there in the fields soldering with the rest of them. Like, what do you think would happen in this scenario? Why do people like this? Actually, I have to stop asking why, because I'm really going to drive myself crazy. In March 2012, Robinson wrote that he preferred Adolf Hitler over Barack Obama. I'd take Hitler over any of the stuff that's in Washington right now, he wrote. Okay, but Hitler was like demonically racist as well. So again, Mark, what do you think would happen to you in this scenario? I would please share it with the class. Once again, I have this Wikipedia page, which I think might be helpful for you, Mr. Robinson. The signs seem to indicate we wouldn't have been very welcome in Nazi Germany, but maybe that's just a hot take. Anyway, we've got anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, I believe, homophobia, and a largely positive forum discussion featuring a photo of two men kissing after one returned from a military deployment. Robinson wrote the sole negative comment. That's some sick BS, he wrote. I had to take out like half of the words there, but you get the point. And wow, CNN really just dropped this. To end the article here is crazy. Well, who am I now that I've read this? So I think my most immediate question is, what did Mark Robinson have to say about any of this? I wanted to take a minute to address the latest outrageous lies coming from my opponent's dishonest campaign.
Let me reassure you, the things that you will see in that story, those are not the words of Mark Robinson.
Well, then who, pray tell, did those words come from? You know what I mean? Also, I'm living for this triple whammy cross Murica, North Carolina pendant he's got going on. I just know Jesus is looking down at this like, now why am I in it?
And folks, we've seen this type of stuff in the past as well. Clarence Thomas famously once said he was the victim of a high-tech lynching. Well, it looks like Mark Robinson is too.
Okay, so I get it. It's the usual talking points. Wow, you're a victim. Boo-hoo, it's not real. But where's the explanation? Where's the explanation for why this was definitely you and was also using your email address and had your entire life story?
They want to focus on salacious tabloid lies. We're not going to let them do that. We are staying in this race. We are in it to win it. And we know that with your help, we will.
Ooh, will you, Mark? Will you? Are you sure about that?
God bless you. And we will see you where? On the campaign trail.
God bless it. God left the chat. Let's be real. God left the chat ages ago. Anyway, if this solo denial wasn't embarrassing enough, Robinson also confronted CNN in what is undoubtedly one of the most awkward interviews I've ever seen.
How can you deny with all of these matching details that this is you?
Look, I'm not going to get into the minutia of how somebody manufactured these salacious tabloid lies.
I can't tell you how they pinned it all on me while making it look like I did it, and there's no evidence to disprove the fact that I did it, but they did.
There's just been over $1 million spent on me through AI by a billionaire son who's bound and determined to destroy me. The things that people can do with the internet now is incredible.
And there it is, folks. It wasn't me, it was the AI. Except for the part where this makes no sense, because how would AI be used in the scenario? Mark, this isn't like a photo or a video. You weren't deepfaked. These accounts exist. They're screenshots. They were real. I don't think there's an application in which artificial intelligence could have been used to bring about this end. So I'm really confused as to what he thinks we're going to believe here. I think he really did take notes from his bestie Trump, because this is the Trump playbook. Like, the truth doesn't matter at all. I'm just going to say something, and the people who really want to believe me are gonna believe me. It's kind of scary. It's kind of scary that this guy is the lieutenant governor currently. Like, this MO, this strategy works. People want so badly to see hate in office that they'll elect it regardless of the actual truth. They'll ignore any truth that is in the way of the hatred they want to see. It's a very odd way of moving through life, and just seeing the people who are at the top because they know how to weaponize it is Scary. Since then, Robinson has gone on to hire a law firm to investigate, so he's going to use every legal means to hold CNN accountable for their lies. Understandably, this wasn't really fooling anybody, and so Robinson actually started losing employees in his campaign left and right. Robinson's top campaign staff in North Carolina governor's race resigned in wake of scandal. So the main person behind his campaign, his general consultant and senior advisor, is gone. His campaign manager, finance director, the deputy campaign manager. Oh, but in a statement, Robinson says he appreciates the efforts of these team members who have made the difficult choice to step away. That is almost objectively funny to me. Objectively. I respect the difficult choice those people made to leave that burning building. That must have been really hard for them to come to that conclusion. But nevertheless, this man is still trying to keep going. We're right in the process right now of forming a team that we know can still lead us to victory. So we have full confidence in our ability to keep going. So it kind of sounds like Robinson has concepts of a team, but maybe not an actual team since everyone jumped ship. And he's really out here. He's really out here campaigning. Like he thinks he's going to get elected. And I can't stress this enough. He could. He could. That's terrifying. But honestly, things are looking a lot worse for him because his Republican clique has cut him out of all of their photos. Trump avoids Black Nazi Mark Robinson as GOP cuts his cash. So both Trump and his vice presidential pick, JD Vance, visited North Carolina. And despite the fact that Robinson once had Trump's full endorsement, this time they didn't offer him a word of support. Trump once compared Robinson to Martin Luther King, but he didn't mention him once at a rally in North Carolina on Saturday. Meanwhile, JD Vance fended off questions about the scandal while making it clear that Robinson was on his own. I think it's up to Mark Robinson to make his case to the people of North Carolina that those weren't his statements, and I'm gonna let him make that case. They're also blocking his bag. The Republican Governors Association suggests it won't spend any more on race for North Carolina governor. We don't comment on internal strategy or investment decisions, but we can confirm what's public. Our current media buy in North Carolina expires tomorrow, and no further placements have been made. Even the people who can't outright say no came out and said no. Imagine getting ghosted by Donald Trump and the Republican Party. To live your life in a way where you wind up in that position is crazy. Also, I feel very compelled to mention that even if the Minnesota account was AI, there is no way on God's green earth that this man should be the governor of anywhere. North Carolina Republican nominee Mark Robinson's most reprehensible comments. So this is actually from before this whole scandal dropped. These are things that he said very publicly with his whole chest, both before and during his political career. So we've got him calling the Holocaust a bunch of hogwash, just multiple posts of Holocaust denial. In 2014, he posted a cute little quote on his profile about how pride in one's own race is also a normal and healthy sentiment. This cute quote, of course, was credited to Adolf Hitler, literally actually Hitler. I am so sick of seeing and hearing people still talk about Nazis and Hitler and how evil and manipulative they were. Newsflash, people, the Nazis are gone. We did away with them in 2017. Oh, I wish. Anyway, we've also got him calling transgenderism and homosexuality filth. And yes, I called it filth, he says. Very proud of that one. This one's a doozy. I absolutely want to go back to the America when women couldn't vote, Robinson said. Do you know why? Because in those days, we had people who fought for real social change, and they were called Wait, okay, pause. So you want to go back to when women didn't have rights because you liked the fact that people were fighting for more rights. First of all, you are the dumbest person alive. But secondly, did you miss all the fighting for rights that's going on in the world right now? The real social change is imminent as long as people like you just go away. He also said, we are called to be led by men. When it was time to face down Goliath, God sent David, not Davida, David. God also sent Moses, not Mama Moses, Daddy Moses, he added. Okay. That's interesting. He's posting a meme saying Beyonce's songs sound like satanic chants, calling Michelle Obama man. Okay, we actually don't have to go through all of this. Calling the allegations against Bill Cosby and Harvey Weinstein an Illuminati plot. It literally goes on and on and on, mocking mass shooting survivors on multiple occasions. I actually can't go through the rest of this. I'm not even trying to be funny. Your Honor, he's trash. Pack him up. But yeah, that could happen. Him being the governor, maybe vote. Maybe if you're in North Carolina, try to not let that happen, please. Thank you, for the love of God. But that's my take on the situation. Dave doesn't want to offer a take on the situation because he says I've been taking his statements out of context using the power of AI. But I'm of course excited to hear your take. I mean, this is the part of the video where a layman would ask you to subscribe, like the video, or leave a comment. But I will ask you to enroll, evaluate the video, and submit your feedback. Because I am of course running a 100% completely, totally, all the way, okay, maybe not really, somewhat unaccredited university. Probably. Just ask anybody in the student body and they'll confirm it for you. We're totally legit. And as for me, whether you'll see me in 24 hours or 24 months is honestly anyone's guess. But until then, thanks for watching. Your homework for today is to check your online history.